Assalamu alaikum and peace. By now, I'm sure all of you have heard about the coronavirus going around. I just wanted to get right into it and not waste time. I'm reading this article in the Telegraph that breaks down what it is, what it is they say the coronavirus is. Coronaviruses are a family of viruses that cause disease in animals. 7, including the new virus, have made the jump to humans, but most just cause cold like symptoms. The source of the corona is allegedly a wet market in Wuhan. A wet market is basically it sells live meat and fish, also dead meat, birds, all of that other stuff. It's like a market but for meats and other type of food items. Now, in these places, these folks are crammed in. Think back to like cubicles in offices being all bunched together, except there are no real cubicles. Maybe a few makeshift cubicles here and there, but they're all huddled up and butchering meat and butchering birds and having live animals around. It's totally unhygienic. And this is why I don't agree with those who try to say, hey, don't say this coronavirus is a punishment from Allah. Why not when it's obvious? Firstly, you are oppressing the Muslims out there, the sincere, small, outcast, quote unquote, Negro class of Chinese out there. You're first trying to ethnically cleanse them, breed their race and culture out. And what comes with that is you trying to force their religion away from them, off of them. The religion they practice is Islam, which to white supremacy, as I said, it means black. So they are forcing this out of them. Not only that, Islam is the religion when practiced sincerely. It will change the dynamic of your life in all aspects, which will eventually lead into politics. This is also not what they want. Islam is the religion of power. It doesn't mean in a harmful way, but it is about power, wealth, and influence. Not only that, the simplicity and common sense of it will cause it to spread amongst the people like wildfire. And this is what they said, the Chinese government, this is what they said about such people. They said that Islam is a disease, Islam is a virus. There was an article in the Atlantic, and it was talking about how the Communist Party over there, they describe these Muslims as having a disease. And in the article it says, this is from the article, it says, here's how the Communist Party recording cited above explains this while alluding to the threat of contagion. So somebody was recording and they're talking about how Islam over there is a contagion. So this is what they say. There is always a risk that the illness will manifest itself at any moment, which would cause serious harm to the public. That is why they must be admitted to a re-education hospital in time to treat and cleanse the virus from their brain and restore their normal mind. Being infected by religious extremism, this is what they call religious extremism, you just being a sincere Muslim and praying 5 times a day. But going on. Being infected by religious extremism and violent terrorist ideology, what that means also is you're not going to take getting your butt whooped. Somebody can't kick you in your face and you just going to take it. It ain't about killing innocent people. No, we don't do that. What they mean by that is you won't let us oppress you. So being infected by religious extremism and violent terrorist ideology and not seeking treatment is like being infected by a disease that has not been treated in time, or like taking toxic drugs. They continue. There is no guarantee that it will not trigger and affect you in the future. So they're saying that you just having this mindset of being a sincere Muslim, it may trigger you to want to go commit terrorist acts. No, a true sincere Muslim does not want to do such things. A true sincere Muslim is about respecting himself and his community, treating people with justice and fairness. But if you try to oppress me or you try to harm me, then I have a right to defend myself. And this is a right that every human being has in the world, regardless of religion. So they go on to say, having gone through re-education and recovered from the ideological disease doesn't mean that one is permanently cured. So, after completing the re-education process in the hospital and returning home, they must remain vigilant, empower themselves with the correct knowledge, strengthen their ideological studies, and actively attend various public activities to bolster their immune system. Oh my God, this is how they're talking against Islam over there. It's a disease that will never go away. Why if something isn't true, then it's easy for me to take it out my mind. When I get more and more knowledge of it, when I get more and more knowledge of something, and I find out this isn't true, it's just tossed out of my mind. It doesn't take a constant vigilant, you know what I'm saying, these strong words. It doesn't take that for me to keep non-truth out of my mind. It's just going to leave automatically with knowledge. So it's obvious that they fear Islam because it is the truth. It is the true way of mankind to worship their Lord. And the reason they fear that it won't ever be given up is because Islam, when it goes into the heart and you become sincere, you don't want to give it up, because the more knowledge you gain, the more you see that, wow, this really is the truth. So they are treating it like it's a disease that will never actually be cured. So basically they're saying we got to either keep most in jail or ethnically cleanse them. You are attacking the servants of Allah, some of whom may be sincere, and people want us to believe, these Muslims out here want us to believe that there won't be some type of retribution from Allah. Doesn't Allah say in a hadith Qudsi, whoever shows enmity to someone devoted to me, I shall be at war with him? You know, it's a saying by Ibn Masud that says the difference between when a non-Muslim does a sin and when a Muslim does a sin is that to the non-Muslim, their sin is like a mere fly buzzing around their face that they just swat away. But when a sincere Muslim commits a sin, it is like a mountain hanging over his head that may fall upon him at any moment, fearing the punishment of Allah. So you, the sincere Muslim, how are you going to try to say that what was being done to the Muslims in China isn't worthy of a punishment from Allah? Yet when you do your own sins, which are less than what this government is doing, you're worried about Allah's punishment. And again, in the Hadith Qudsi, Allah says that I am as my servant thinks of me. Meaning, if you think Allah will forgive you after you seek forgiveness, then Allah will. If you think that He won't, then He won't. But in the same token, when you make dua to Allah to punish those who harmed the Muslims, and then you believe Allah will answer your dua, then when you see the evidence, why then would you all of a sudden say, nah, I don't believe it's a punishment, y'all? It doesn't make sense. They treated you like a disease and locked you up, and now the whole world has a virus, a disease, and are being locked up in their homes. Allah puts the signs before your eyes. Maybe your eyes are just blind. So yes, they are harming the Muslims. That is one reason I see it as a punishment from Allah. And as I was saying, they weren't being hygienic. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that cleanliness is half the faith. So when you're not even being a clean people, this isn't even in line with what Allah commands to the people of the globe. Allah says in the Quran that He loves those who purify themselves. I mean, heck, even if you're not religious, you know that cleanliness helps to keep diseases away. So for them going against natural laws of Allah, they were hit with punishment. What does Allah say in the Quran? I mentioned this in the White Supremacy in Light of the Quran broadcast. Allah says in the Quran that corruption has appeared on the land and sea because of what the hands of man has put forth. This is chapter 30, verse 41. And this happens so that hopefully they will reflect and return to Allah. So let's see if these people in this wet market have learned their lesson and will want to change their ways. We'll see. But I also heard that they're now stopping the selling of like animals, different type of wild animals in these wet shops. So this virus came from not being clean, allegedly. They have not specifically identified what animal it came from, but they assume it is from bats that were sold in the Wuhan wet market. They may have, these bats may have infected some of the other animals, and then it jumped to and mutated and jumped to humans. Again, this shows the importance of hygiene and cleanliness. Allah says in the Quran again that He loves those who purify themselves. Now, what's crazy about this disease is it's really hitting up Caucasians and Asians more so than the overall black population. Now, I'm not saying black people cannot get it or haven't gotten it, but the overall vast majority have been of the Eurasian demographic. As a matter of fact, there was a doctor that came out and he was saying, you can find this on Tariq Nasheed's Instagram. He has a video clip of it. And I've seen a few other people showing it on Twitter. He was saying how he believes this virus was a weapon made by the Chinese that would work with your genetics and work with your different type of things inside your body, and it would mainly attack Caucasians. So this disease is really hitting them up hard. But what I've seen is the slow changing of the narrative to turn black people into the face of this virus, as if we were the target in the first place. Because we can't deny that maybe this virus came from, Chinese, but then you have the Chinese government saying that, well, this was created by the American government. So we have to look at it from all angles. So it seems, so now that they're trying to change the narrative of this virus into making it black people be the face of it, it's like it seems as if we were the targets in the first place. Remember, they had an article that came out when this virus was ravaging Europe, and still is, that was saying, Africa better watch out, the coronavirus could be on the way. And now, how can you know something is coming like that unless you're planning it? That brings into question, is this being used as a bioweapon? So first they start saying how it's going to come to Africa, but then when it didn't, it seemed more like a surprise to them. They was like, well, damn, numbers of cases are low, and this puzzles scientists. So these are just things that perked my ears up to pay attention to this pandemic. So when this report came out, word started getting around, and like I was saying, black Twitter was clowning and making jokes about how black people allegedly can't get it. And a side note to this, you had people outside of foundational Black American Twitter trying to, in a way, shame black people for taking light of the situation. Black people have to deal with systematic white supremacy on a daily basis. And as a black man walking out of your house every day, you have to prepare yourself for that mentality, or even for even worse, like death by the hands of white supremacy. So black folk aren't saying it ain't real, but what we saying is y'all soft. That's what we saying. Nah, what we saying is that this is nothing new to us. We've been having to deal with stuff like this. So as the memes and jokes were making their rounds, all of a sudden your boy Rudy Gobert, who seems to be one of those confused mulatto types, there was an alleged tweet that people brought up about him saying how he don't date black women because they got Ebola. He said this back in 2016. So he's a French dude, and we see he has that anti-black animosity as well. So this is who they trot out to us. And this quote-unquote first black case But to me, and this is my conjecture, he's just the perfect slave to use, and he's okay with being the sacrificial lamb for this. It seemed like they had to begin to start making the face of this black, as you know, as they were going back in the lab and mutating the virus themselves. Like, okay, we got it, y'all. Now this it's finna hit them niggas hard. Now we got it working now. But he comes out and he says he has it, and everybody on Twitter is like, well, he ain't full black anyway, still joking about it. What makes me think this dude is being used is he might have it, I don't know, but he's not on deathbed mode like everybody else. What makes me think he's being used is that after his press conference, this dude gonna rub his hands all over the mics and the table. Then I think when he was leaving, he was rubbing his hands on the wall. He was just laughing as if it's a joke or he just doesn't believe it. And up until now, he's doing pretty well from what I hear. Only thing he's saying going on is he lost his sense of smell, and they quickly castigated for him. They quickly shamed him for rubbing his hands on everything. He had to come out and apologize. But it just started to become. I could smell the hint of it in the media of black people aren't taking this seriously. You know, I spotted that. Further on down the line, some more black players, you know, they got the virus, and then they said two players on the Lakers tested positive. Uh-oh, that's my team. But they didn't name them. What it sounded like to me is these two players opted out of doing the pony show. They opted out because they had a busy schedule, so they were just like, look, just say somebody on the team has it. Not specifically me, though, because I don't feel like doing, the Corona press run. Wink, wink. So they saying two people on the Lakers got it now, but they don't want to say who. Then after that, you start seeing black celebs claiming they have it. Then more articles in the news pop up about black people having it. Just recently, you had Slim Thug and Scarface say they have it as well. So this seemed to be getting black people in line. Like, nope, you're getting it too. Yet, is this stuff real, or are they just using celebs to push propaganda? Because recently you had what's her name, Cardi B, and I know she's not the paragon of knowledge to go to, but she came out recently saying celebs are being paid to say they have coronavirus. So now my suspicion has some firm basis. Although I think, me personally, I think Cardi pushes both sides of the argument as her role. But she was saying before how she was all worried about it, and they made that little corny song about it. But what's funny is Idris came out and responded to her claims, because she claimed that, well, she didn't claim even specifically Idris was lying, but this nigga hops out the window and he addressed her claims like he's trying to protect somebody or something. So he responded to her claims and he says, I think the negativity around test shaming is like counterproductive. I don't see what people get out of that. Yet listen to what your girl Cardi says. She says basically she feels like niggas is getting paid to say they got it. So if they're getting paid, let me get paid too. So she's basically admitting she's down to push propaganda if the money is right. And Elba also went on to say, and also this idea that someone like myself is going to be paid to say I've got it, that's like absolute bullcrap, such stupidness. There's no benefit to me and Sabrina sitting there saying we've got it and we ain't got it. I don't understand the logic of that. So he goes on ad hominem attacks and doesn't directly deny the accusation, and then tries to deflect with the question of, I don't even understand the logic of that. The logic of that is to get black people to fall in line, because we were on Twitter talking amongst ourselves and seeing that this virus wasn't hitting us up like that. You were brought in as a means to change that idea. And again, they were just talking about how this disease has mutated. I'm wondering if they took this back into the lab and did a remix on it so it can really hit us up. So let's look at it. We see that the Asian people were really getting this virus at first, but then the media started coddling them and taking up for them, and they are being protected from the media at large and politically and all around, to the point where the New York Attorney General launched a hotline for Asian Americans to report discrimination? You like what? Where the hell is our hotline for our discrimination? Where the hell is our hotline for being accosted by racist police or race soldiers? As I said, they don't even want to call it a Chinese virus. And you got lame coons out here telling us to run and support Chinese food shops, and these mofos never even support the black business in their lives. Politicians out here talking about specific tangibles for Asians as well. So this is really exposing that yes, they are able to offer specific tangibles to black people, namely reparations. This exposes that because now they just passed a $2 trillion bill for this stimulus package that is going to go to all these different businesses, and some of it's going to benefit Asians too as well. So that shows you they had the money. You know, when niggas was talking about some we want reparations, it was all, oh, we ain't got the money for that. So now they pulled $2 trillion out their ass, and it just came out of nowhere and it passes overnight. So we see white folk with the virus getting hit up, but then it becomes, look how we're all coming together to support each other. You even have a video online from ABC News' Twitter with white students who had to stay home from school and their parents in their suburban neighborhoods pledging allegiance to the flag. The caption reads, "These students in Farmingdale, New Jersey aren't letting class closures stop them from coming together to pledge allegiance to the flag." Oh my God. We know what this means. We know what they're really pledging allegiance to. Come on. We even see these people coming together in the dominant society to pass, like I said, this $2 trillion stimulus package. No questions asked, no commissions, just immediate action. Now, this will lead to my points about us. They just recently started arresting some white folk who are trying to use this virus as a bioweapon. Vice News just recently did an article on how white supremacists are talking amongst each other and directing each other to use this virus as a weapon. And ABC News also did an article on this as well. This is why we've seen videos of these white folk licking on items and spitting on items and rubbing their hands in their mouths and then putting it on rails and stuff in public. And the FBI is on some, well, we heard about it, but you know, we just don't know yet. They are purposely trying to spread this, and they're even doing more. You just had the coronavirus bomb plotter, but his plot was thwarted. I think he's dead now. So not only biologically are they attacking, but physically as well. It makes me wonder, was this all planned? Because the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation had some Event 201 form in October of 2019 talking about we just a small time away of a pandemic virus being unleashed onto the world. And now we have this, and that's very odd. And we know Bill Gates is on his eugenics tip. And it also makes me wonder, is this why Trump's want us to all relax and hopefully we can all be in congregation by Easter? What? And then you had I think it was a president of Mexico saying we shouldn't be trapped in our homes as well. So are they purposely trying to make this spread? Or, are we supposed to be on lockdown? So to me, it's obvious who this lockdown is for. It's for public enemy number one. Which leads to us, yes. Some of these white guys who licking these items in stores have been arrested. The dude who tried to do the bomb at the hospital was killed. But I want you to notice the criminalizing of black people going on. They know with this heightened police presence, as well as some areas being backed up by military, there are going to be more black people arrested and locked up. They have to have an excuse for when we say something about it too, because we're going to say something, and the excuse will be the coronavirus. You can see how they are already preparing the minds. Since they had a few white sacrifices who they locked up for literally trying to pass it on, now what's going to happen is they will use these few whites who were arrested. We'll see if they be convicted. When they start disproportionately start locking up black folk, they're going to say, well, it's not racism because, see, we locked up some white people too. So now you have laws put in place, like in Mississippi, since they're on lockdown, they want to pass a law quickly that would mean a fine and possible prison sentence for those who violate the quarantine. And some public health expert came out and said blacks are now at greater risk of death from coronavirus. It just makes you say, And remember what I said earlier, it seemed like they went back in the lab and changed up the formula because, just recently NPR, the news channel, came out and said that this virus is mutating, but scientists aren't worried. Why aren't y'all worried about it? Because that batch is probably for us, that's why. And, they had a video of a news chopper filming black folk on a basketball course playing basketball, and the title was about how people are disrespecting and violating curfews and warnings. I mean, come on. Remember, at first it was the white kids on the beach, and they weren't talking all crazy about them. Also, just recently, a black man was arrested for coughing in a police station. See, they're using their white sacrifices to springboard off of. So this virus is being used again as a way to oppress us. We see that all these businesses, Asian businesses, big white corporations, small white corporations, and other businesses are being bailed out. Yet in black society, what do we see? None of that money is trickling down to us. There are no hotlines for us to call, no bailouts, no stimulus package. I mean, we might get that little $1,200 to $2,400 they're going to throw at us, but that's about it. And even in that money that they're about to throw at the people, that's another propaganda within that, because it's on some cashless society stuff. They're like, well, many people don't have banks, so we're going to give out digital dollars that come straight from the feds, that come straight from the Federal Reserve. Isn't that great? So that way you can finally have an account. Who is that targeting? That's targeting black people. Yeah, we're gonna give it out in digital dollars, and we don't want to send out checks because that coronavirus, it might be in the envelope and on the paper. Man, this is just an excuse to bring in the cashless society as well. But continuing with my point, so in the black community, there's no hotlines, no bailouts, no economic stuff. So the virus was used economically against us as well, and will be continued to be used economically as well, especially when you got accounts being tied to the Federal Reserve. That sounds scary. So the question is, how much money lost or jobs lost because schools and jobs were shut down? This was used to economically attack us and to enrich themselves. Because you see how many CEOs sold all their stocks so they can get the profit, and then they watch the markets crash and crumble so that all their little homies can go and buy up some stock, and so that when the stock rise back up, they done made a killing. That's how they doing it. And if you could have bought some stock then, that was a great time to buy it because you had great prices. So that's market manipulation at its finest. They knew the government would come in and assist, so all those stock prices are at free-for-all levels for all they homies to gather up and make a killing when they do go back up. So like I said, this is a propaganda and war on all fronts. Militarily, they have to bring the tanks and military into the neighborhood for intimidation to let you know, hey, we all might be affected by this virus, but we ain't all equal here. You had one white supremacist arrested for allegedly about to bomb a hospital. So they basically saying, look, we still have that muscle, don't get slick. The economic enriching of themselves while impoverishing the black population even further. Media propaganda, with the celebs and the news pushing fear on the people. As a biological warfare, we see the white supremacists using it by licking items and rubbing spit on items. As well as we have to question if this virus is really where they say it came from. Because also with this biological warfare, we see how they are rushing to get some vaccines ready. And they see how many people are against vaccines, so now they want to force it on us for our own quote unquote safety. So that's another front we have to be concerned about. But let's not forget that Allah is in control of all things. Let's not forget that. With all this anxiety and fear being pushed on us, never forget to fear Allah alone, and never forget that Allah is in control of all things. But this virus makes me, you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of Gog and Magog, Juj and Majuj, who, in my opinion, they are real people, but they also represent the white supremacy of today. Did you know in London they have this street parade called the London's Mayor Show? And you know who is at the head of this parade? Gog and Magog. They got these two big statues they bring out, which are made out of like straw or something, and they got names of Gog and Magog literally on them. And they see them as the protectors of London. And isn't the UK was heavy in the slave trade, so they were heavy in the white supremacy. So this just further proves to me that my opinion is correct, and this is their little story behind them. This is their story. One of the legends of Gog and Magog explicitly concerns London. This is from the article thelondonist.com when they were talking about the London's Mayor Show and Gog and Magog being in the show. So they say, one of the legends of Gog and Magog explicitly concerns London. As with most legends, there are variations on the theme, but a popular one goes that Gog and Magog were two monstrous giants, the product of the 33 wicked daughters of some Roman emperor, and certain demons they've been having relations with. As he founded New Troy, which would become London, the heroic Brutus tamed the two colossi, forcing them to serve as guardians of the city by chaining them outside of his palace, the site of which is now Guildhall. That eerily sounds like that big old thing that was chained up when one of the companions of the prophet went and seen the Dajjal chained up. That's what it sounds like. So that might be the island of London. That's what Imran Hussein was talking about too. That's where that one companion went when he met and saw the Dajjal chained up. And they go on to say, of course the tale is nonsense, but somehow the legend lived on, and the duo continued to be associated as the city's guardians. The effigies of Gogmagot, the Albion, and Corinius, the Briton, were recorded as appearing on the coronation of Elizabeth in 1558. Where exactly it isn't clear. And while the giants Gog and Magog were already making appearances at this parade by 1554, so they've been trotting out Gog and Magog at the head of this parade since 1554. So that's what I'm saying. This is in their history, their psychology. They know where they came from. They know the lineage they came from. And that further emphasizes to me that Gog and Magog represents white supremacy. And the prophet already let us know that Gog and Magog are Caucasians. So this further proves my theory. Now, according to Islam, Gog and Magog will be unleashed on the earth in the last days and cause major mischief, death, and oppression. To me, these are the white supremacists. To me, these are the white supremacists that came after the Muslims were conquered in Europe, and these white supremacists conquered them and swelled down upon the globe with their new religion of white supremacy. Now, in this legend, they say that these giants were created by mixing with jinn. What I get from that is they get help from the jinn. And if they were able to, if they were able to have children with these jinn, although I've heard it is impossible, they went ahead and did that as well, but who knows? Even the Sheikh Imran Hussein's theory of Gog and Magog being from the Caucasoid Jewish people who came down from the mountains is still in line with my theory, because those people who practice oppression are white supremacists as well. Again, I also believe these are an actual people too, but I believe these white supremacists are from the lineage of them, or as well as their mindset. So Gog and Magog take over the globe and oppress everyone. Then they point their arrows towards the heavens. And Allah will mock them by sending those arrows back down with blood on them. And you see, we just started a new space brigade, right? So these fools would think they killed Allah or they killed the angels in heaven. And who has power to do such things, to aim arrows towards the heavens and shoot them up in the sky? It ain't us, it's the white supremacists. So, the prophet already told us during his time he had deep anxiety about Gog and Magog breaking out of their barrier. And these anxieties were heightened because Allah revealed to him that Gog and Magog were already beginning to make an opening in their barrier that kept them back from the world. But what's interesting about the story of Gog and Magog, and me having the opinion that it is the white supremacists and its mindset and an actual people, is how they will be defeated. In a hadith narrated by Imam Ahmad, the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that Allah would send against them a type of biological warfare. It would be some disease or virus that would cause worms to enter into their necks, and it would kill them all over time. So this virus now hitting up mostly the Europeans is like a sign to me of that the system of white supremacy is starting to crumble slowly but surely. I'm not saying this virus is these worms talked about in the hadith, no, but I'm saying this is a sign and symbol of what's coming in the future. And in my opinion, the people who will run the globe after the white supremacists are taken out will be black people. What makes me think this is because during the last times before the day of judgment arrives on the earth, there will come a black Ethiopian who will have thin shins. He will be from the group or tribe of people called Dhorqoway Satain, who will come and destroy the Kaaba. Now think about it, a black man entering into the kingdom of Saudi Arabia and into the area of the Kaaba and destroying it could only happen if the world is controlled by black people. Muslims will rule first before this event, and I believe that it will be the black race and other melanated races of the globe who are Muslims that will be in control as well. Because you gotta look at it. Isa just came down from heaven, a black man. He defeated the Antichrist, the god of white supremacy. And then he helps get rid of Gog and Magog, white supremacist white people. Not saying all white people will get rid of them. I'm talking about these Gog and Magog people who are white. So it just makes sense. But you may be like, well, how would this dude be able to destroy the Kaaba while Muslims are ruling? Again, there's another mention of a type of virus coming upon the people, except this will be for the Muslims alone. And these are authentic hadiths as well in Muslim. You can look them up. But the Prophet also told us that the day of judgment that falls on the earth, it's not going to fall upon Muslims. When the skies fall and the whole earth quakes and things start being destroyed and the sun is rolled up, those type of things aren't going to fall upon the Muslims. It will fall upon non-Muslims only. So what will happen after, the white supremacy is defeated and Isa dies? Some narrations say Jesus will still be alive because they say that he will actually gather an army to go fight this Ethiopian dude who's trying to come and destroy the Kaaba. But that's another narration. But, Gog and Magog will be defeated. And, the Muslims are ruling. So during this time, Allah will send a wind that will smell like a good musk perfume. And it will be cool. And it will take the souls of the believers. And in other narrations, it says how it will be like a two-step thing. The first day, there would be two winds altogether. The first wind would come and it would cause a type of cold and cough amongst the Muslims. And then the next wind or the next day, another wind would come and it would smell like sweet musk, and it will take the souls of the believers. So that only non-Muslims will be left on the earth. Only the evil people of the earth will be left, and so that the day of judgment can fall upon them. So these are the things I want you all to think about. We got a lot going on. It's breaking news every day on this coronavirus and things going on with it. So let's just keep our eyes open. Let's keep looking to the future and trying to have insight and foresight about what's going on. And let's continue to communicate with each other about such findings. This concludes this broadcast. Thank you for listening. My name is Bilal Abdullah. You can subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to do that. Hit the notification bell. Pass this on. You can also, I might put pictures up with this, but it takes a long time for it to upload. And if I don't put a whole bunch of pictures up with this video, you can check all the links. I'll have them up in the blog as well. Once again, thank you for listening. This is Black and Muslim in America, Bilal Abdullah, signing out until next time. Peace and assalamu alaikum.